That one's going to offend so many of you. Yeah, nope, I'm not going to do it. It's me again. I'm doing it. Another video. My light fell. I'm literally using my phone as a light because I'm sitting in a dark hotel room in Canada. And I know my hair is straight. It's because I've been traveling so much. The curls were really just not working. They weren't working here. Okay, so story time. A lot of you have been asking more about what I was like when I was a kid, and the answer is an asshole. I was an asshole. I got shipped away to boarding school for being depressed and struggling and Tourette's and all of those things, but mostly I was an asshole. And boarding school had to channel my creative, angry energy. I thought tonight I'd tell some boarding school stories. I like to tell people I did a victory lap of high school, just a 5-year quick stint in high school. When I first got to boarding school and I was tough and mean and angry, I was brutal. I would yell at students and teachers and walls and stairs. At boarding school, if you screwed up, you received time, which was either served by cleaning the school or sitting in detention. To this day, I hold the record of the most time ever earned and thus ever served in the entire history of the boarding school. I had hundreds of hours of time, maybe even thousands. I was such a nightmare that they came up with a new system to try to get me to take ownership of my actions, I think is what they were doing. So they decided to have me write letters of apology to anyone I was mean to, be it a student, a teacher, a wall. They gifted me these apology notes when I graduated, and y'all, there were thousands of apology letters, and not one of them is a real apology. I found the letters, but they are hilarious. So I thought, what a better way to introduce you to Pam from high school than to read to you some of my apology letters from high school. So enjoy. Sorry to anyone who went to boarding school with me and does not agree with these stories or does not remember them the way that I remembered them, but I was 14, so we're going with my version of the story, yo. Sorry. Our school describes students as intuitive, creative, outside-of-the-box thinkers, and that we were square pegs in round holes. So I made and sold shirts that said, "Put your square peg in my round hole." These are the apology letters that came from that shirt. Dear Headmaster. By the way, I took names out. There are actual names in here, but I did not include those. Tourette's. That wasn't in the letter. I mean, it probably was, but I didn't write it out because that would be a weird thing to do. Okay. Dear Headmaster, I'm sorry for making t-shirts for every one of the girls that said, "Put your square peg in my round hole." You have to admit, that's pretty clever. With that said, they were inappropriate, and I'm sorry that you can no longer use the motto that you have had for our school for centuries. I promise not to wear the shirt in class and will remind others not to wear it as well. Pam. This next one is 3 days later. Dear Headmaster, I'm sorry that I wore the "Put your square peg in my round hole" shirt on Saturday in public. Sometimes I forget that this town is small and that you live here. How funny that I ran into you and was fancy seeing you here. However, telling me that I agreed not to wear the shirt is false. I agreed not to wear it to class. Now that I'm punished yet again, I will agree not to wear the shirt in this town. This next one is 3 weeks later. There were other letters in between, but this is the same storyline. Dear Headmaster, I think it's unfair to ask me to never wear the shirt. If you tell people that we're outside of the box thinkers, it's odd to assume that I wouldn't take your slogan and turn it into creative shirts. I'm sorry that I wore the shirt on break with my family. I had no idea that you told my mother I could not wear it. If I had known, I would have worn it secretly. Clearly. I'm sorry for how creative, intuitive, and outside of the box I am. Love, Pam. Dear art teacher, I loved my art teacher, by the way, but I made her life a living hell my freshman year. Dear art teacher, many of these letters are to her, by the way. Dear art teacher, I'm sorry that I got frustrated with you and threw a pumpkin. However, I'm not sorry for high-fiving everyone when I realized the detention log read, "Smashing pumpkins." So this is another one. This was to my science teacher, who I love very much. So once a quarter or semester, we did a deep clean of the building. And we cleaned everything top to bottom, and I clearly hated it. And one day I announced that I would not be attending the deep clean. And I was informed that for like every 5 minutes I skipped, I'd get a half hour of detention, half hour of time. And I remember looking at my science teacher and saying, make it an hour. And she did. So this is this letter. I'm sorry I called your bluff about giving me 40 hours of time for refusing to help clean the school. You said you were going to give me a half hour for every 5 minutes I skipped. When I said make it an hour, I really didn't think you would. I'm sorry for not having faith in how much of a bitch you can be. Now I know. How did I turn out okay? And we're going to use the term okay lightly because I did turn out to be a comedian. So verdict's still out. Dear everyone who lives on the girls' floor. I'm sorry I told you all the school was haunted. It was not nice of me to claw at your doors at night. I won't do it again. So if you hear clawing tonight, it was for sure not me. It was probably the ghost. Oh, so this one was everyone at boarding school snuck out or did something wrong and I wasn't invited. Because when you have Tourette's and you're on a mission where being silent is of the utmost importance, people don't want you there. It wasn't like they didn't like me. It's just like when silence is important, you just don't invite the girl with Tourette's. You don't invite the girl that barks. Which I get. I get it now. I struggled with it then. Dear headmaster, I was not one of the ones who snuck out. I really wasn't. I have Tourette's. That makes it nearly impossible for me to do anything without making noise. Do you really think anybody is going to invite somebody who barks on a secret mission where being silent is of the utmost importance? Use your common sense. If you still want to punish me for sneaking out, I will take the punishment because it's clear that your stupidity is punishment enough. I'm sorry I just called you stupid. Love, Pam. I'm sorry that my last letter was not a real apology, but it's hard for me to apologize for something that I didn't do. I wasn't even invited to sneak out with everyone else. Honestly, I feel pretty left out right now. I would have loved to sneak out. Feel free to punish me. Everybody I like is already in detention, and I have nothing to do without them. Love, Pam. So every day we had to clean our rooms, and they did a room check after, I think it was after dinner. So this one was to a member of the dorm staff. I'm so sorry that instead of cleaning my room, I just put everything under my bed. The room looked clean. I honestly had no idea you were going to look under my bed. If I had known you were going to do that, I would have hid everything in my closet. Love, Pammy. Oh, this one's a little dirty. We'll tell it. Dear art teacher, there's so many towards her. Hundreds. And I remember the art I painted in this one too. The painting was not meant to look like a giant dildo. That was a happy accident. Love, Pam. More to come, because they're hilarious. But I want to talk honestly about boarding school for a second. First of all, when I got to boarding school, I was depressed and suicidal. Like I just didn't want to be in this world, let alone in my body. It's hard to make a kid feel like they belong or that they add to the world when the messaging for so long has been that like my Tourette's takes away from the world. And my Tourette's is something other people have to like work through because I'm so disruptive. By the way, this place was amazing. It was magical. And they tried so many things. They just used creativity to try to like bring me back and help me realize that I had value and that who I was added something to the world. I just had to find those things about me. There were like 35 people in the entire school. My graduating class had like 7. We fought like brothers and sisters. The staff were some of the most patient, amazing people on the planet. Should I ever make an insane amount of money, I'm just giving it to them. Just all of it. So the school is amazing. I want to talk about it more, but I also just wanted you to meet 15-year-old Pam. I might be, maybe should I read 1 or 2 more letters? I'll read 1 more. Dear art teacher, I love her. She's going to see this. I love you. Thank you for putting up with me. Dear art teacher, I was not the one who put Sour Patch Kids in your hair. I know this sounds like something I would do, but it wasn't me. But since I have to write this letter, I guess I'm sorry that I didn't think to put Sour Patch Kids in your hair. It was funny, and since I'm getting punished for it, I might as well get some of the credit too. Sorry, I'm not sorry at all. Pam. Oh, nope. This is my favorite one. Dear history teacher, who, by the way, was also a great teacher. All of these people are so great. I'm going to talk about them all one day. Dear history teacher, I'm sorry I yelled fuck today and then blamed it on Tourette's. I do have Tourette's, but Tourette's didn't cause me to yell that word. I thought about it and made the decision to say it, and then decided saying it just wouldn't give it the full effect. So I yelled it. I am sorry, Pam. So with that, post your questions about my boarding school life below. I'm going to do an actual video on boarding school, what it was like, talk about anything you want to know. I have not a negative thing to say about that place. It changed my life. Even the toughest days there I wouldn't take back. I loved it. And I hope these letters show you a little bit more about what just like a nightmare I was to raise and how all of those people need just like medals of honor. So yeah, post your questions about my boarding school below and I'll do a whole video on it. Thanks for hanging out and let your freak flags fly. Do we like that? Do we hate that? Is that a thing? I'll decide later.